Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June 26th episode of PubTalk Live, the live publishing talk show airing the second and fourth Saturday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern. I am your host, Sarah Nicolas. I'm a young adult author, a board member, an agent liaison for Pitch Wars, and a library event planner. Just a reminder, you can subscribe to reminders via email by clicking the link in the description so you don't miss a show. If you'd like to support the show, you can find a link to the Patreon near the end of the video description down below, or if you're listening to the podcast, end of the podcast description. And I also wanted to remind everyone about Corgis, Qualms, and Quirks, my podcast that talks to published authors where they share their successful query letter and discuss their journey from first spark to date of publication. If you haven't checked that out yet, my episode this week was with Angeline Booley, who's a #1 New York Times bestselling author who first got published when she was 55. So it's a very interesting story. Hopefully you'll check it out. Jennifer says, not sure really, did you put red in your hair? It's actually purple. It's just with a red curtain. There's like a weird contrast thing going on, but yeah, it's a dark purple. All right. So I'm going to bring on today's guest co-host. Okay, sorry. I was like checking something over here. Stephanie Cooke is a writer and editor based out of Toronto, Canada, where she lives with her snuggly cat that she is very allergic to. She is the writer of Pear Northern and the co-writer of Oh My Gods! ! Welcome, Stephanie. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. Did you know that you were allergic to cats before you adopted this cat?
I've had cats like all my life, and then the allergy kind of like developed. And I just like, I'm a strong believer that, you know, a pet is your family and you don't get rid of your family. So it's, you know,
that's funny. It is. We've had dogs all our lives, my family, and my sister, she adopted this dog a couple of years ago and she's allergic to her specifically. Like, she hasn't been allergic to any other dog.
Yeah, I definitely take a lot of allergy medicine and try and manage day to day. But my cat is like, again, very snuggly. She's being good right now, but I'm sure she might make an appearance.
I hope she stops being good before this is over.
Yeah, she's beside me, but it's also very hot and humid. So she might just be like, I love you, but from over here.
Yeah, true. Yeah, my brother-in-law thought he was allergic to cats for a very long time, and he started hanging around my cat, and he's like, I'm not allergic to your cat. Turns out he's not allergic to cats. His family always had outdoor cats, and he's allergic to pollen.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm also allergic to like the outdoors too, but yeah, we just do what we have to, right?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk to you about the news that's been happening the last couple of weeks in publishing, and Stephanie's going to start us off.
Yeah, so 8 years after buying educational publisher McGraw-Hill for $2.4 billion, a private equity firm is selling it to another private equity firm for $4.5 billion.
What was your first thought when you saw this headline?
That's a pretty good return investment.
Yeah, I was like, what happened in those 8 years? Why is the company worth so much more now?
And if it's doing, I mean, sure, it's a lot of money to like be like, you know, we're worth this much. But like, if they're doing that well, it's so weird to me that they would sell and, you know, it's in publishing a really short period of time too.
Yeah. So this is a good time to mention that all the news items that we talk about, they are going to go in the description of the show after we're done today. So if you want to read about any of the news items that we're talking about, you can read more about each of them. Obviously, if you're watching the replay or listening to the podcast, they're already there, so you can go and check them out. All right. Some not fun news for me anyway. HarperCollins Broadside Books has bought an untitled book from Jared Kushner, calling him, quote, the most consequential advisor throughout President Trump's presidency. Yep, that happened. Yeah. There's also, I don't think it's in here. No, I didn't include it in this week's roundup. There was also two industry veterans like high up in Big Five publishers who have opened up a conservative publisher, because the reason why I didn't include it in the roundup is because like their quotes in the article made me rage quit and close it before I could include it in the roundup.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, but not surprising, like
Mhm.
I want everybody to do better. I want these people to not be given a further platform,
Yeah.
but again, not surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the idea of like a wholly separate conservative publisher, because I'm like, then I don't have to worry about like the morality of continuing to support HarperCollins or whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. What do we have here? Is it Naver? Naver. I
I
should have looked
never
this up.
knew. Yeah, I don't know.
You mean you never knew? Oh my God. All
It's
right.
okay. You're gonna have to come back every time now.
Well, after Naver bought Wattpad earlier this year, Wattpad and Webtoon are merging their film and TV departments with an investment in $100 million in development and production financing. The new group will be called Wattpad Webtoon Studios, which is a bit of a fun wop thing to try and say.
Yeah, it's a lot. Wattpad Webtoon Studios. Like, I feel like you
Yes.
could have squashed that together. I don't know, something.
WWS.
Yeah, obviously they have a lot of content that they could develop. So Fever King is, for example, has been made into a webtoon. So maybe we'll get a movie or something out of that. Who knows?
Maybe. We shall see.
All right. Applications for $135 million in new grants for arts and culture organizations from the National Endowment for the Arts are now open. These funds came from Congress's approval of the American Rescue Plan in March. So if you know of an arts or culture organization that is looking, to fund a program or something, you may want to point them in that direction, because that's extra in addition to like their usual budget.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. The book industry charitable foundation called BINC, see, they know what abbreviations are, announced the recipients of its Survive to Thrive grant program. They will award a total of $1.1 million to 115 bookstores and comic shops. Yay, comics. 255 stores applied for the funds.
Yeah, I just saw, actually, before reading this article, Gods and Monsters, which is a comic book shop, and I say comic book shop, but they have like more merch than comic books, but
I think that's like a lot of shops these days.
They were a recipient of this, and then I saw the article. I was like, oh, hey, that's the thing Gods and Monsters got. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess it allowed them to like hire back all the employees that they had to lay off. So that was really cool.
I know everything has to have been so tough. I went into my local comic book shop for the first time, and I think like several months this week, and it was just like nice to talk to people again. And I met like an older woman who was really into Naruto, and that really was amazing.
That's cool. Comic and pop culture shop. There you go, Jen. Thanks. Many readers will be happy to hear that Holly Black, YA legend, has announced her first novel for adults. It's a dark fantasy called Book of Night, coming from Tor in May of next year. So I saw that, and I know a lot of people are huge Holly Black fans, but may be a little older now.
Yeah. Following kind of that, like, well, I recently read like Lee Berdugo's Ninth House. So like it feels like a very similar thing to kind of like age up with your audience. And yeah.
Jen's very excited in the comments. All right, our final piece of news.
Yes. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was like reading the comments. I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. So Zoop is a new crowdfunder that not only offers a money-raising platform, but it also handles all fundraising and delivery functions themselves, as well as a number of other a la carte services such as marketing. So
Yeah.
as somebody who currently has a project on Kickstarter, this sounds so incredible. I thankfully have like a distributor, like a publisher helping out with that side of things. But had I been doing this on my own and I saw this news, I'd be like, oh my God, gotta go look into this like right away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I did an article for Book Right a while back on authors who decide to kickstart their books. And I thought immediately of Michael Stokes, who publishes photography books. He does nude male form photography. And he's had a great success with Kickstarter. Like for a long time, it was like the most successful book Kickstarter. And so that might be something he's interested in, because I know he struggles with those delivery items.
In the comics industry, I'm noticing a trend where there's a lot of like small press publishers that watch for those successful projects on Kickstarter. And then once the project is successful, they agree to back it and like produce it. So that's like a new kind of like trend in comics I'm finding. I'm not sure if other small press publishers in like the book market are doing something similar, but the fact that this company is doing kind of everything in one, I feel like is, you know, a culmination of what I've been seeing, at least in the comics market. So
yeah, very cool. All right. Speaking of, very excited to talk to y'all about comics and graphic novels and all the things that I know nothing about business-wise. So we're going to go ahead and bring on our special guest today. Whitney Gardner is an author, illustrator, and cartoonist living by the Salish Sea with her husband and 2 pugs. She started drawing stick figures in 2nd grade, and somehow no one's been able to stop her. If there's ever a moment when she isn't drawing, she's likely to be found baking, tending to our mini houseplants, or rolling 20-sided dice. Her favorite color is, and always will be, yellow. She is the author of YA novels Your Welcome Universe and Chaotic Good, as well as the creator of Fake Blood and Long Distance, and the illustrator for Debbie Levy's Becoming RBG. So please welcome to the show, Whitney. There we go. Hi.
Hi. That's me.
I love your lights behind you. They're so awesome.
Yes, I have very spacey book, so I had to space it out.
it looks like you have like a little halo
That's
too.
what I said.
Like it's like I love it.
Like a cosmic halo. Yeah.
I was saying, like, I tried it out in Dungeons and Dragons a week or 2 ago, and I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what I have to do.
I love it. All right. So Whitney, we're going to start a little. So my main goal with the show is to help people like understand a part of the industry that they may not understand, right? And so for people who may not be familiar, like me, can you explain the graphic novel creation process?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a tricky question because I feel like it's not always the same at every publishing house or with every author or illustrator. So I'll tell you how I do it, but know that it is not like the industry standard way of doing it. I always start out with a script first, and I'm a definite plotter. I'm not a pantser. I like to like outline the whole thing and then outline again and then write the entire script. And I'll do some sample art. And if my editor likes it, my publisher likes it, we decide we're going to make it. My editor and I will go back and forth on the script until it's done. And that's when I start on drawing it. So that way it reduces how many times I have to redraw things, because it's much easier to change the script than it is to change the art.
That makes sense.
And then I spend an ungodly amount of time drawing the things, listening to hours and hours and hundreds of hours of podcasts and television. And hopefully it all comes together and we don't have to redo too much. And that's kind of the way I do it. If I'm working with a writer, they handle the script and then I handle the art.
Mm-hmm. So if someone didn't have a publisher that they were already working with, how would that process differ? How would they pitch it?
Well, it all depends. Before I had a publisher, I wrote the whole script for Fake Blood. I did not sell it on a pitch. I sold the entire script just like you would a prose novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the first 20 or so pages I illustrated to go with the entire script so they could see what I wanted the characters to look like. And then they got the full picture of the story. And that's what we ended up taking out on sub to various publishing houses.
Perfect. I'm so glad you said that because people always ask me how graphic novels gets pitched. And I always say, I think it's a script and sample art. So I'm glad you confirmed that.
I mean, other people do it on a pitch, like they'll send in sample script pages and an outline of the whole thing. Or when I was starting out, I was very paranoid. Like, I'm like, I want to make it hard for publishers to say no to this. So if they see the whole story, they won't think like, oh, the beginning was okay. I didn't see where it was going though. So I wanted to be like, here it is. It's all here for you to read and enjoy and for you to think about, oh, what I would do to make it better or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can kind of like pitch as a writer for like a graphic novel book, because like some publishers, if they like the pitch enough, they will, they'll pick it up regardless and they'll pair you up with an artist. But
yeah, I'm a little less afraid about selling books on pitches now, but starting out, I was like, let's just give myself every opportunity that I can. I'll just write it all now.
Yeah. Well, it's like prose novels, like you've proven yourself. And so now it's a little bit easier to sell a book on a proposal or a pitch.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the process, your process, but what is your favorite part of the graphic novel process for you?
I think, I'm going to say coloring it in. Because it kind of feels like, I'm like doing a grown-up coloring book a little bit. And it's like, all the hard work is already done. I drew it all already. And now it's just like, oh, what color do I want this to be? And what color do I want that to be? And it gets to be a little more like the pressure is off. Like, I'm drawing this arm 800 times and it just doesn't look right. I'm like, that's already done. I just have to like color it in. And I think that's probably like the sweet spot of comics for me.
And you've been reliving that a bit on your Instagram by doing little live events.
I have like my arcs are in black and white. So on my Instagram, I've been going live and like coloring the arcs in colored pencils.
It's a little bit more relaxing that way though, right? Just like colored pencils.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now there's really no pressure because the book is absolutely finished.
Yeah. What do you usually like to draw your pages for publication? What do you use for that?
I use a Wacom Cintiq.
Okay.
I do everything on there, except for, my thumbnails I used to do on pencil and paper to like really try and just like go really fast. But now I do those on an iPad. So thumbnails are like the sketches of the pages before they become the actual pages. So I sketch really quick on the iPad and then I bring it onto the computer and I do it all on the computer. Once again, that way, if there are changes, much easier to change digital files than inked drawings on paper.
Yeah. All right. What advice do you have for someone who is newer to graphic novels and would like to maybe get into publishing them?
The best advice that was given to me, and I think holds up, and I forget who gave me this advice. And when I was starting out in comics, I kind of laughed at it and was like, that's nothing. But now I understand. Someone said to me, make a mini comic, make a 28-page comic front to back, write it, draw it, color it, print it, whatever you have to do to just really get a feel for how much work goes into every single page of a comic. Because if you're struggling with the 28 pages, like imagine the kind of work that goes into 300 pages. So it's sort of like a nice little litmus test, like break yourself in and see like, okay, this is where I was struggling the most. So how can I make this easier for me if I were going to do a graphic novel? Or let's say you did the 28 pages and you fell in love with making comics. This is what I want to do. Your publisher is going to say, how long do you think it's going to take you to make this? Well, you can look at your 28 pages and be like, okay, it took me this long to make 28 pages. My script is going to be something like 150. I can like do the math now to help put the dates in the contract. So
Mm-hmm.
make a mini comic front to back, do the whole thing. Even if you're not planning on drawing your own graphic novels, do it anyway. Who cares? Like, just do it for yourself so you can get a feel for the whole process.
Lettering is so much harder than it seems.
How long, now that you mention it, how long does it generally take you kind of from beginning to end?
I think with the publishers, it's a little hard because sometimes you're waiting on notes and things like that. I was working at a pace of 4 pages a day when I was doing inks. So I could kind of see like, okay, how many weeks will it take me to do this many pages if I make 4 pages a day? And then coloring, it's a little faster, that sort of a thing. So I use that as a general cushion for myself. And then I like put in holidays and things like that. I think from start to finish, long distance took like 3.5 years, but that's because I started it before the Ruth Bader Ginsburg book came into my life, and I had to put it on hold. But so my timelines are all a little messy.
I love it. I cannot draw like anything. Like there's just like a disconnect between my brain.
That's not true.
It is true.
Everyone can draw.
My niece is like 6 years old, and she draws like all the Pokemon. She's like obsessed with Pokemon, and she's so good. I'm like, I to this day cannot draw as well as she can.
But if you drew a Pokemon every day, I bet at the end of the month, Pokemon would look a lot better.
Maybe we'll see. We do have Leslie Salas, who's a writer who lives in the area here. She teaches a class on comics for non-artists, and that's one of her things is like, just do it. Like, who cares what it looks like?
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, and she's she talks about these comics, the web comics that you see that are like this, either the same picture over and over again, like the dinosaur one and all that. She's like, you don't have to be a great artist to do comics, just do it. So yeah,
just do it.
I think I got a little distracted. Okay, Stephanie's got a question for you.
It's okay. I was enjoying the tangent.
Yeah.
So which of your characters across all of your stories do you feel? I can narrow it down if you want. I mean, if it's too hard, we can talk specifically about long distance, but I thought this would open it up. But anyways, across all your stories that you feel the most connected with and why?
Okay. All my books is really hard. So we'll stick to long distance because there's like a little piece of me in all these freaking books. Long distance feels like a very personal story to me because in 2017, I moved to Canada. I left my best friend behind, and I thought, like, how am I ever going to make friends in a new country? I don't know anyone here. I'm an adult. I work from home. Like, I don't have coworkers that I can just be like, and these people are my built-in friends now. And I was really struggling with making friends as an adult person. And so I thought, like, how do I make these new friends and keep my old friend? I didn't want her to like feel like I ever ghosted her or she fell to the wayside. So I put it all into this book about this girl who moves to a new town, and she's not interested in making new friends. She's like, I have my one friend, don't need anybody else. And then the pandemic happened and we all became long distance friends with everybody. And all of a sudden I'm like, this book means even more to me now. So I really, me and Vega, the main character of Long Distance, have a lot of things in common. Although my heart does belong to one of the new friends that she makes. His name is QWERTY in the book. And he's just like this chatterbox, over-the-top boy who just wants to be friends with everybody, but everyone thinks he might be just like a little too much for them. So I love their pairing together, and the two of them are just the best.
I loved QWERTY. I think I messaged you at one point and just was like, QWERTY!
He's hard not to love.
It's true. He's just enthusiastic.
He has that big sidekick energy that you just, it's hard not to fall in love with those characters.
Yeah. So I listened to last week you were on, was it MSWL podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, the MSWL or MS Academy podcast. And I was interested because it seems like you have a background in art, right?
Uh-huh.
But then your first couple of books were novels, prose novels.
Yes.
And so can you talk a little bit about kind of your career progression, like what, an overview of that?
So it's a journey.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to go that way either. I started out thinking that I was going to be a picture book illustrator. I loved picture books. They're just so like dreamy and funny, and they just run the gamut. And I was like, this is what I want to be doing. I went to a bunch of like SCBWI New Yorks in my portfolio, and I was just like, this is going to happen. And the more I kept submitting myself and sending postcards, I just never seemed to manifest in any interest. And I was like, how does this, what do I do? What do I need to do? Because nobody in publishing knows who I am. And maybe if they did, that would be more helpful. And then somebody suggested, if you write and illustrate together, it's easier for a publisher to notice you because they might not think of you when they're matchmaking, but if you send them something that's like complete, that'll be great. And picture books are incredibly hard to write, and I still haven't managed to do it.
Yeah.
But I started writing comic books because I was like, okay, words and pictures, I can figure this out. Comic books are great. I love comic books. So I wrote 2 trunked YA graphic novels that went nowhere, queried them, took them out, nothing. And then I thought, this was a while ago. This was before Smile. This was before the big graphic novel boom. People were very confused, didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, my graphic novels aren't selling. Maybe I write a novel and I'll put pictures in it. And that will be my compromise. And that's what ended up taking off. And after that, I got like, my second YA novel has comics in it. And then I finally was like, enough is enough. Somebody let me do a comic book already.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now.
All right. Well, that's a long way around, I think.
It's a really weird way around, but sometimes I feel like if I had just said like, no, I only want to illustrate picture books, I throw in the towel, like I wouldn't have followed this crazy path here. So I would say, like, if you're not finding headway somewhere, like, try something else because you never know. The only way you're not going to get published is if you stop. So stay, do it.
So you've already kind of mentioned a lot of the heart that's behind Long Distance, but it's mixed with a ton of fun and funny. So is there a particular joke or scene that you're proud of, especially proud of?
Oh, is there a joke or scene? Okay, well, the first thing that I thought of was this one panel of QWERTY describing a particular character's transformation. And he's like wiggling his arms and, he's saying like, so you look like this and you have this and you're blah, 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 blah. And there's just the art for it. It just makes me laugh every time I see it. So there's that. I'm trying to think of any other jokes that don't give away too much. I don't know. I
guess I've asked a spoilery question, kind of.
Yeah.
I know, a little bit. I kind of like a little joke that I have is one of her dads is always in the same pink bathrobe, like morning, noon, and night. Oh, Roger is saying secret eggs. Okay, so QWERTY in the book, let me find what he's talking about, is allergic to eggs.
Oh,
and he says in the book, like, I have to be very careful because there are things that I can't eat because they have secret eggs in them. And people are like, what the heck does that mean? And it's like things that are baked, things that you don't expect there to be an egg in, he can't have. And at one point in the book, he says that he's allergic to eggs. He's reminding people, and the whole panel just looks like an egg.
Oh yeah, it's a secret egg in a panel
Yeah,
about secret eggs.
there you go.
Nice.
Thank you for the secret egg reminder.
All right. So Becoming RBG is the only book that you're an illustrator on, but not the writer, right? So far?
For now.
Yeah, so far. Which seems like it was closer to what you originally set out to do. But
Yeah.
so how different of a process was that for you?
Oh, it was very different, especially since the author of, oh yeah, I can't show, I wanted to show you the Blagle, but it has a huge spoiler. The author of it had never written a comic before. So I think she had her challenges trying to figure out how to get her point across in comic book form. And I had challenges of trying to like help her or figure out how to, she's an extremely thorough historian, and she would write like paragraphs and paragraphs of dialogue. And I had to try to explain like the bubble can only fit so much. We had to figure out a way to like pare it down. And I think what we ended up with is wonderful and extremely historically accurate, which was another challenge because I'm used to like, oh, Fake Blood's got vampires, and like, oh, this other one has some like outer spacey stuff, and and now I'm here with like, we have to make sure that this car doesn't have seatbelts because they didn't have seatbelts in this specific year. Like I was like, oh, here I was trying to make everybody safe.
Yeah.
But so it came with a lot of different challenges working on that book. But yep.
Yeah, I liked how on the MSWL podcast you were talking about how when people ask you what you do, you're like, I write about aliens. That's awesome.
What about aliens and vampires? And they're
and
like
then Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right. And then and also Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And here in Canada, sometimes people are like, who? You're like, oh, right. Why would you know who that is?
Yeah.
It's very funny to have people say like, oh, I'm an author. I write young adult novels. I write children's books. And they go, oh, like about vampires. And I can go, yes.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, I have a Canadian critique partner, and there's like a joke in my book about gerrymandering, and she's like, what's that? I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child.
I did have a conversation about gerrymandering when I first moved here as well.
Yeah, I only actually learned about that not that long ago in like the retrospective things. And like sometimes there's just a ton of stuff that I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? Like I'm on Twitter and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I learn a ton about like politics and other things. Yeah. Thanks, Twitter, maybe. I guess, oh wait, is it, I have a question now. I was like looking through a sheet here. So as a professional artist, how do you cope with turning a passion into a career? Do you still draw for fun, or does it feel like too much work now?
Steph, that's brutal.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a great question. It's so true. Okay, so I talked about this on the other podcast. I'm going to talk about it again because it's so true. It's like drawing for myself now. It just has to be little doodles in my sketchbook that are just for me, that are for nobody else. If I'm going to draw in my free time, it has to be something that makes me happy, and it can't be like for content, for Instagram, for Twitter, because then it becomes more about my job and less about, oh, I'm just trying to have fun. And I was saying that there's this thing in The Office. I related very much to Dwight Schrute when he told Michael, I have a diary to keep secrets from my computer. And that's how I feel about my drawings. Like they're all in a little journal. They're all just for me, and they are to be kept secret from the internet and my computer. Sometimes I'll show them to like my friends or whatever, if they're like little fan art drawings. But it's very hard to spend the entire day drawing and then look at my sketchbook and want to keep doing it.
Mhm.
So that's where Animal Crossing and Cozy Grove and Stardew Valley and all those games come in.
Yeah.
And Dungeons and Dragons, of course.
Yes.
These are all
So-
things I also love.
Your notebook sounds like the comic version of like Morning Pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I feel like that's a similar vibe.
Yeah. All right. So we actually are at our last question for you, Whitney. It's a question that I ask every guest that comes on the show. I apologize in advance. It's, what is the most important book you've ever read and why? With you defining important however you would like.
Okay. The most important book I
One day
ever
I'm just going to
read.
make reaction gifs out of everyone's face.
Hmm. I'm just going to go with the first book that came popping into my mind. This might not actually be true, but I'm going to say it, and it will be true for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein, because I feel like as a kid, I would memorize the poems in that book. I would trace the drawings in that book. I would rewrite the poems onto my backpack from that book. And it just felt like the way he wrote it felt so different from how I was being taught to write and read. It felt like he was breaking the rules. Like, oh, he wrote a thing and it's one sentence and it's a whole poem. And he drew this like little scribbly thing, not a perfect, beautiful drawing, just like this little scribble and this little poem. And it's in a book and people published it. And like, I loved it. And it felt like it was speaking to me and my young sensibilities. So yes, I think Shel Silverstein, Sidewalk Ends, is my final answer.
That's a great answer. Jennifer said, "Where's Ebony?" That was a great reaction. Ebony always comments on the reactions that people give when I ask that question.
It's a big one.
She'll
I
watch
can
the
understand
replay,
why
I'm
you
sure.
keep asking it then.
I get such good answers. I love the answers I get. That's why I keep asking it. Jen also said, "I love heart, Shel Silverstein."
Oh, yeah.
All right. Whitney, thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you want to tell us about your latest release or your next release, whichever you prefer?
Sure. Well, my next release is coming out on Tuesday, so that's
Perfect.
latest and next. And that's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's the book I've been talking about, book about going away, making friends, a little bit of mystery, a lot of laughs, some unexpected stuff, outer space you'll have to see. I really love it, poured my heart into it, laugh about it, read it, have a good time. I have Stephanie's book here too, so I can do the same thing. Stephanie's book.
Thank you. Oh, you.
And Stephanie and I also have a podcast where we talk about heists and caper movies. If you like our vibe, come and check us out.
Cool. Awesome.
It's called The Caper Cast.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'll check that out for sure. All right, Whitney, thank you so much for coming. And Stephanie and I are just going to do a couple things and we'll see you later.
So good to see you. Thank you,
Too.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was fun.
That was. I feel like I was like putting in some hard-hitting questions there, and I didn't mean for them to be. So, whoops.
No, I thought you had great questions. When I saw your questions, I was like, oh, these are nice. These are good.
Phew.
All right, so it's time for our audiobook of the week, which is a feature that I do because I like audiobooks, and there's nothing deeper to it than that. I just lost there it is. Okay, so the audiobook of the week this week is Bathhouse by PJ Vernon, narrated by one of my favorites, Michael Crouch, and Daniel Henning, who is new to me, but he did the oh my gosh, The House on the Cerulean Sea, which I haven't listened to yet, but it's on my short list. So And I was trying to find a quick way to summarize this book. And then I heard PJ Vernon on a podcast, on Writer's Bone podcast, and he had said that it was Gone Girl for the grinder set, which just is perfect. So yeah, that's a perfect explanation of what it is. So it's two men in a long-term committed relationship, and one of them goes to a bathhouse because basically he's bored with his relationship and things go terribly wrong, as they do in the thriller genre. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. It was like there's a lot going on. The dog does not die. I will tell you right now, the dog is safe. That was my main concern. I literally yelled at PJ Vernon on Twitter halfway through the book.
That's always like my biggest concern. There's
Yeah.
like a moment in I don't want to spoil this book, but The Shining Girls by Lauren Bucas. And I still sometimes, like, it has to be like almost a decade later, like think of it and be like, that was horrible. So
yeah, I can't take it. So the dog is safe in this one. Just a heads up. Yeah, Jen said I saw that tweet. Yeah, I was like, if this dog dies, so help me God, I'm going to come after you. Silly is safe. Don't worry. I started listening to Only Good Indians, The Only Good Indians.
okay.
Which I had seen like a lot of buzz about. So sometimes I'll go through and I'll be like, what big books did I miss? And that was one of them that I wanted to listen to without knowing a single thing about it, right? Like I did not even know the genre, because if I'd known the genre, I would not have started, because I'm a big scaredy cat. It's horror.
Yeah, I'm also a scaredy cat. But I've been trying to like add a little bit more horror into my life. But like movies, I'm covering my eyes and I have like my thumbs in my ears, so like I have like this thing happening, and I don't do well with horror. But
I don't either. I had to nope out of this about 2 hours in. I was actually driving home at 1 a.m. and the book is about like a killer elk essentially. And I see deer on my drive home every day, and then I couldn't. And the dog is not safe in that one. The dog is unsafe twice in that one. In the first 2 hours. So just like be careful on that one.
There needs to be a doesthedogdie.com, but for books.
Yeah, there really does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We should do that. Yes, not me, because I have too many projects, but someone else.
Someone else do it.
Yeah, someone who like knows how to build websites and stuff. All right, so now we're going to talk about the viewer poll. The question was, have you paid for feedback on your writing? And I gave 4 different options because that's all that Twitter allows for. So let me go ahead and take a look at, I have to look at on the other page because it's so small on this page. Yeah, so 51% said no. I don't think I've ever paid for feedback. Well, okay, we'll talk about that then. 22% said yes on a full manuscript. About 12% said yes on a partial or something else, and 15% said yes on a query or synopsis. So I did not have a question yesterday, and I messaged Bess Carnan, who hosts Wednesdays for me, co-hosts Wednesdays with me. And this was her question. So I was like, oh, that's good. I would like to know that as well.
See, I haven't done this personally, but my partner writes too. So as a Christmas present one year, I actually got him like there's a website that I think Eric Smith and some other agents use, and they give away services and all this stuff. But I got him like a partial
cool.
like thing, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I was answering that and I said, no, I haven't. But then I realized I had done way back when I was starting writing. I did, I think it was a Writer's Digest class. And it was a class, but it included feedback from an agent. So kind of, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like that was definitely an appeal, of the class. It wasn't the main reason I took it, but it was a big bonus. So yeah. All right. Well, now we know. And this is, of course, as I always say, biased by the people who follow me, which may be biased in one way or another. I don't know. Jay said, is that a thing where you bid on their services like an auction, or is it just like a for sale kind of thing?
Oh, there are some auction places that I've seen. I think, again, Eric, I follow him, so I see like a lot of the things he does. He's so active and working with others. But there is an actual website, and I'm so sorry I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I did this a little while ago. But there are several literary professionals and book market professionals, and it's a wide range of services, and you just pay a flat fee, and they range based on what they do. You can get a full manuscript, like feedback, or you can get the first 2 chapters up to 50 pages or whatever. But those services aren't an auction type thing. They're just, I think it's more like almost like a service, so that anyone who offers their services just has like one place to kind of get work and benefit from networking with each other.
Yeah. And I know, since we've mentioned it tonight, Manuscripts Academy, I don't know if they do critiques, but they do consultations. So you can like book a consultation with an agent or something. All right. So that's pretty much it. Stephanie, do you want to tell us about your book?
Sure. I don't know why I'm still all blurry right now, but anyways, I should have did what Whitney did and bring my copy over, but I have Paranorthern and the Chaos Bunny Ahopcalypse. That is by me and Mari Costa, who does all the art. That comes out July 13th. As Whitney showed, I have Oh My Gods, which came out earlier this year with Insha Fitzpatrick and Juliana Moon. And I do the Capercast with Whitney, which is at capercast.com. We have a good time talking about heist movies and capers and movies that sometimes don't actually fall under the heist category at all. Whoops.
Yeah, it happens. So the website, social media for both Stephanie and Whitney is in the description, along with links to Amazon Bookshop, IndieBound, and Libro FM where available. And those are affiliate links, just FYI. So if you do purchase through there, I get like some sense. And so I'm sure the podcast is linked on one of your websites, I'm assuming. Okay, cool. Because that's not linked down there, but I can edit afterwards too to include it.
It's all good. I think we've been promoting it quite a bit. We launched it at the beginning of the month, so we've been trying to boost it as much as possible.
Yeah, very nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us. I'm going to say goodbye to you. I'm just going to do a couple of closing announcements. I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in or watching the replay or listening to the podcast. I think these days I have more podcast listeners than viewers, which is interesting. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Tell your friends. That's how they find out about things like this. Also, you can subscribe via email for reminders in the description. And the Patreon link is also in the description. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. You're going to see their names at the end of this episode. And I just want to thank y'all so much, because sometimes when I don't feel like keep going, y'all really motivate me and inspire me, and I love seeing your enthusiasm. So thank you so much. As I mentioned, the websites and the social media for our guests is in the description, so please go check them out. What do we have coming up? We have Wednesday write-ins every Wednesday, so continue with those, 8 p.m. Eastern. And Jay said, don't forget to thumbs up. Thanks, Jay. So every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, come write with us, or read or edit or do whatever you need to do. I think I edited a podcast last week. And then Queries, Qualms, and Quirks. We have my computer did an update today and it just did some weird thing. Sorry. So Queries, Qualms, and Quirks. Last week was Angeline Bully. It's a really great episode. I recommend you check it out. And next week is going to be a middle grade author published with a small press. So we're trying to do all different kinds of journeys. That is everything. Everyone stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. We'll see you next time.